Stalking incidents are being reported on college campuses. That is according to advocates working with victims. News 4's Allie Ingersoll is at the University at Buffalo with the reason behind the increase in reports.
Victims advocates are saying they're seeing more stalking victims, especially here on college campuses. And they're saying it's all because of this technology.
Right now, we have to be very cognizant of the world we live in, and technology, I think, is a huge piece of that.
Now, most apps and devices have location services attached.
Unfortunately, it's so normalized.
Advocates like Larissa Bachman believe that's a contributing factor as to why more people are reporting stalking.
Those are all pieces of control that abuser can have access to pretty easily these days.
It's easier for someone to do stalking and be a perpetrator.
Mary Brennan Taylor says stalking looks different than it did 20 years ago. Now it's mostly starting virtually, moving to the real world.
If you feel that somebody is following you class to class, they all of a sudden show up, outside your English class, and they're just inexplicably there, that is terrifying.
Brennan Taylor says stalking can have significant impacts on survivors.
That controls somebody's feeling of security, of safety, of being able to be in control of their own person.
According to the National Center for Victims of Crime, 1 out of every 6 women and 19 men will experience stalking in their lifetime.
Younger kids are being exposed to more, and so with that comes concern.
Both Brennan Taylor and Bachman feel they're not sure that there are actually more stalking incidents happening, but there are more reports being filed, and they feel it's because younger people are aware of the resources available.
Things are changing, and we need to raise that awareness.
If you or someone you know is a victim of stalking, there are several different numbers for hotlines on our website, WIVB.com. Just click on the Founded on 4 section. Reporting from the University at Buffalo, Allie Ingersoll, News 4.
You won't believe, man, this woman, she said somebody jumped in her car.
Is that the one that you just sent me the picture of? The link to her channel?
No. She's a different woman. This is a different woman I've been talking to. And she said somebody jumped in her car and they wouldn't get out. They wanted her phone number, man. I've been talking to her for a couple days now. She was getting, the gang stalkers jumped in her car and told her they wanted her phone number. One of them, they said they wanted her phone number and they wouldn't get out until she gave up the number, and she had to put them out. They wanted her name and her phone number and everything. It's crazy.
That's fucked up.
I know it. It's tripped out, isn't it?
They really wanted her number.
Yeah. They're turning it up a little bit. It's crazy. Yeah,
that's great. That's crazy, man.
What'd you say that woman was? You said that other woman, you said she was Macedonian?
Yeah, she's Macedonian.
Macedonian?
From former Yugoslavic Republic, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She sent me a...
Stojanovic or something like that. That's a Stojanovsky.
Yeah, she subscribed to my channel, and I sent her a message asking her about...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I asked her how long she had been getting gang stalked. I didn't even know there was that many people in Australia who've been going through gang stalking, man. Australia has a lot of people down there going through it.
Yeah. There's so many people being filtered through the mental health system because it's so efficient, the program down here. It just gets you put into mental health.
Yeah.
Gets you put in mental health, you put on medication, and no one listens to you. I mean, people hardly listen to me in the legal system. They know that it's real, but they keep trying to sweep it underneath the carpet and throw the mental health card.
Yeah. Do you remember that guy Steve I used to talk to? I still talk to from time to time. I talk to him, but I don't know. He's strange. Like sometimes I don't hear from him for a long time. Then he'll start calling me, and then when I try to call him, sometimes he'll pick up, sometimes he won't. But he was going. Remember him, man?
Steve, is it Steve from Australia?
No, he's from he lives out west. He in the States. He was going through gang stalking. He was hearing voices, man. The program was talking to him. He was hearing the V2K, the voice of skull, and they put him in a psychiatric institution. And they wanted to check him into a psychiatric institution. When he went in there, even the people who worked there were gang stalking him. And he asked them, do you know what gang stalking is? And he said they all got quiet. They all got quiet, and then he left. He didn't want anything to do with it anymore. But they were hitting him pretty bad, man, trying to railroad him through the mental health services or whatever he was going through.
Man, to be honest with you, it's scary in the mental health facilities.
Yeah, I told you my story last night, man. When I was in there, I was pissed. I was sitting there. I was sitting in there telling them, you know, they were asking me if I was paranoid, and they wanted me to take medication, all that stuff, and we almost had to have a whole big thing in the middle of the institution decide whether I was going to take the medication or not. And they had the different nurses coming to me, and I was telling them how I was telling the people in there how I beat gang stalking and stuff inside the you know, I told them, man. And so it's crazy, man. Like how there's millions of people getting gang stalked, and there's people showing up at psychiatric wards, and they're gang stalking the people in there.
Yeah, I know, man. They were gang stalking me while I was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Just trying to gaslight me, going through my bags.
Yeah.
In my room. Yeah, just doing the whole heap of things. I almost got stabbed in there as well.
What?
Yeah, 2 Indigenous Australians, I mean, 2 Aboriginals walked into my room, and I knew that they were up to something because they were pacing up and down the hall. So I hid behind my door, but I put a pillow underneath my blanket and put the blanket over it. I hid behind the bedroom door.
Right.
They walked in, and I threw like a blanket or a big sheet over one of them that was holding the butter knife, grabbed him by the back of his neck, threw him on the bed, snatched the butter knife off him, let him back up, and then I gave the knife back to him by the handle. And I said, look, if whoever sent you to do this realizes that you failed and you've let me know now that something's coming my way, you're going to be in danger. So don't even tell anyone that you've done this. I gave him back the butter knife, and they left my room, and they didn't bother me ever again.
Right. Yeah, man, it's a trip. It is a trip. Did you see the, huh?
I didn't want to hurt them because I knew they're just being used as pawns.
Right, the program, they were getting paid to do the assignments and stuff. That's pretty rough, though. They're coming at you like that.
They're trying to scare me. I've already been stabbed once before in the leg when I was homeless.
Man, that's crazy. What happened with your car? What happened? You sent me. I saw a picture. What happened with your car?
Oh, well, going down to the local Woolworths, which is a shopping centre, grocery store, and there's a recycling sort of plant there where you put plastic bottles or glass bottles and that, and you receive 10 cents per bottle. So I'm doing my bit for the environment while getting a bit of coin in my pocket. We do that, we leave, and this woman goes through a give way sign and just hits me on the side of my door where I'm the passenger and keeps pushing. Just doesn't press the accelerator, just keeps accelerating.
Right. Man, that's a trip, man. Do you have any, what do you think has been like the most intense thing that's happened to you since you've been getting gang stalked? Would it be the psychiatric thing or?
Honestly, man, it's hard to say which is the worst part. I mean, is it the dream manipulations? Is it the Jedi mind tricks that you get from everyone everywhere you go?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the poisoning? Is it the drugging? I don't know which one is worse.
Right.
I mean, walking in the street and the brightening of the lights and whatnot is like the last of my worries. If they can continue doing that and stop with the directed energy weapons and the dream manipulation and whatnot, I'll be happy.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, this is a trip though, man. So when you walk down the sidewalk, like say you leave your house right now and you just take off walking, you're walking down the sidewalk, what types of things do you encounter regularly? Will there be people walking towards you wearing the red and black or the white and black, the color coding?
Earlier on in the targeting, but they don't use color coding anymore or anything like that. They just use familiarized faces. So they just use stalkers that I'm familiarized with to just drive past me or to walk past me, to look at me and smile and then keep going, just to let me know that they're still there.
Right. So they're doing the assignments, but it's not the color coding isn't going on. It's just them just showing up, sort of like form of mimicking a little bit people you're familiar with that are stalking you.
And I get the entry-exit harassment as well.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah, at the same time you're going into a store, they have somebody coming out or somebody following
it's the
you
same
behind
thing
you.
in the house. When I leave my home, the same thing. The neighbour pulls out or makes some funny noise as I'm walking past their home. Or another, I mean, I've got nothing against homosexual people whatsoever. I respect all people's sexualities, etc., etc. But every time I walk past this one couple's home, they're both a couple of men who are homosexual, and they just kind of, just sort of, just freak me out a little bit, just because of the way their mannerism is so girly and fairy-like. I mean, it kind of irritates me. But
Right.
and they just do it constantly and constantly, just because they irritate me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is irritating. I can't believe all the little stuff they can come up with. It's like sometimes you think, had they planned this stuff before I left, or did they? It's just like spontaneous assignments they come up with along the way. Like, how long in advance do you think?
I'm pretty sure they have community meetings where they all go and they probably plan a couple of weeks in advance all the harassment that they're going to bestow upon us.
Right, right.
Because you need to understand, for their harassments to work, we have to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 If you take off from somewhere, you do something different. It can mess it up for them a little bit.
Exactly. Then they have to re-scramble around the community and position themselves again for another harassment attack.
My whole thing on it is so the technology's doing like 90% of it.
Yeah, man.
They're coordinated all through technology. They got the app maps and all that stuff, and so it's not really. It's not too much.
I get a lot of the. Sorry, man, for speaking over you.
Oh no, go ahead.
A lot of the neighbours actually, when you get a new phone number, they ask you for your new phone number. They always ask you for your number, or they always ask to use your phone and call someone else with your number showing, so they can get the new number.
Mm-hmm.
And also, they want your email address. So I think they use these two things to hack into your phone and to track you down or to monitor you. I don't know how it's done. I'm not too tech savvy, but they're always asking me for my number if I get a new number. And they're always trying to get my new email address because I'm always making a new email address.
Right, right. Well, see, from what I learned, like I was saying last night, I was around somebody who was gang stalking me every single day. This is going on for a couple months, and from what I've seen through the technology they were using, the woman, she was being shown, she didn't know where I was at. She was just being shown where to go to do the assignment.
Yep.
But I'm sure there are people who do have,
and like you said, there's a Google map.
Huh? Yeah, it was a Google map, man.
As you said in the beginning, as you said yesterday before we got cut off, it's a Google map app that they're using, and it shows them on the map where they are and where you are.
Yeah.
I've seen it myself when I was homeless.
Yeah.
I looked at my van, and there was a taxi driver with his phone. It was stuck to the windshield of the car, and he was looking at it as a GPS. And I was the green dot, and he was the blue dot. And I'm like, what the fuck? How is he tracking me? How is he tracking me?
That's exactly how they're doing it. It's showing them. I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at her phone. I'm looking at all this stuff and how she's using the Facebook. They're telling her what to do through the Facebook and stuff. But on the phone, it was showing her exactly, where it was showing her where to go, what intersection to go to. There would be a dot on there showing her what places to go. And then every single morning, they would end up telling her what color clothes to wear and everything. And so I just saw, it's like, this is stalking. You're being stalked by groups of people, but the technology is being used in a format to make it really, really easy. They don't have to do that much hard work.
Exactly. And a lot of TIs, when they run to the law, to the police, or to someone to report this crime happening to them, they usually say, someone is following me around in the street, and I don't know how they know where I am.
Right.
You see, the police can't really do it. The police and the law can't prosecute anybody that's just coincidentally at the same place you are at the same time.
Right.
But if the TI and told them my phone is being tracked and that is how they're monitoring me and stalking me, then that is an illegal matter.
There's
the privacy is being invaded.
There's an information and communication dilemma where people are getting gang stalked and they're coming out and saying all these people are following me everywhere and they're wearing red shirts, and there's too much of a barrier in between what's happening to them and how the people are doing it. Like there's a big information gap, and slowly but surely that's being filled. People are starting to learn a little bit more, about what's happening. People are starting to come forth and tell their story. Even the people who are doing it are starting to speak a little bit and come out. And then there's one thing I've noticed, man, is there's a whole bunch of strangers who don't even know anything about gang stalking who are now coming online talking about how people they believe it's happening. I've come across several people on the internet, on YouTube. They're not targeted by gang stalking, but now they're talking about how people are being gang stalked, and they're saying how the people being gang stalked are being made to look like they're crazy and stuff. And there was one woman, like goes by Meg B or something. She's interviewing. She was into the Mandela effect, studying a metaphysical subject. And now she's actually interviewing people who are targets of gang stalking, saying why she should be sympathetic to their needs and their causes. She's seeing that, she's recognizing the pain that people are going through.
That's great to come out, from outside the TI community, from an external perspective. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, someone else recognizing it and identifying it for what it really is, and not calling people crazy, which is really, really good. That's a big step forward. Yeah.
It's amazing, man. Within the next 10 years, it'll be like fully blown open. Within 10 years, it'll be common knowledge that gang stalking is going on. It'll be common knowledge how it's working, how people have been orchestrating it. Like more and more will come out about it, just like anything else. And
you'll start seeing TIs going. If TIs loop out and do something crazy, people will just say, "Oh, they pushed him to do that." People will start knowing that people have been pushed to committing whatever it is that they've committed. Like, in America, there's been a lot of TIs that have gone around shooting, colleges and Navy bases and whatnot due to the program. And people have just been saying that they're mentally ill. Well, now people are going to start saying, well, they are pushing them to do this.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. But one of the strangest things is now that people are starting to realize. Before, it used to be a thing where people were just flipping out and killing people or killing themselves or doing something crazy. Now it's becoming a thing where people are recognizing up front that they're being gang stalked. But some of them are still they're still going out, and like the Myron May guy, the attorney, how he was getting gang stalked, and he did his last prayer on YouTube and then went out shooting people, telling them he was being gang stalked. I think that's starting to be a common thing. You're going to notice people are inclined to break down and react in sorts of ways, from pressure. I mean, these people are being stalked 24/7. I mean, who is not going to, there's always going to be somebody who's going to react like that to it. But at least the people are identifying what's happening to them before it goes down. They're actually talking about on YouTube how this is happening to me. I'm being group stalked and gang stalked, and it's going on to millions of people around the world 24/7. And, I feel uncomfortable with the situation, so I'm going to go out and respond to it this way. It's sad it happens, but it looks like that's starting to become a new coming theme.
Yeah, man. And I'm actually looking for these advertisements that universities are putting out. They're putting out adverts for flash mobbing. So to recruit perps, so-called perps, for mobbing or gang stalking. They call it flash mobbing.
Right.
They're recruiting people.
They're warning people about it, or they're hiring people to do it?
They're recruiting people.
They're recruiting. Oh, yeah. Most definitely. They're recruiting people to do it. Yeah. I remember, man, I used to go on these long walks, and sometimes it'd be in broad daylight, sometimes it'd be at night. But I remember a couple of times in broad daylight, they would have people that looked like they were coming straight from the colleges, and I'd be walking, and they would come like they were going to hit me. Some of them would slow down and pull up right up on me like they were going to run me over and stuff, and then take off and all that. And, I thought to myself, wow, man, they're training people to do this types of stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, so if somebody would have got hit, if I would have got hit and killed, then nobody would have knew it was from gang stalking. It just would have been like, oh, somebody made a mistake behind the wheel, you know? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like with my car accident. Just like that car accident I sent you the picture of.
Uh-huh.
You know, the lady went through the giveaway sign and just hit me right on the door. T-boned me. Just boom. Shook my whole left side. My neck is sore. My spleen is sore. My spine is sore. And I was in an accident 2 weeks before that, a more severe accident where my body was still recovering. So the program knew.
Yeah, yeah. And when you say the program, can you break down a little bit? Like I use the thing. I used to use that a lot too, and I still do. I still refer to it as the program. But what do you think that really? When you say the program, what does that really entail?
Well, I just give a very, I coined that very vague and general term, the program, to explain a very vast and large network which is highly coordinated and is using the country's resources pretty much to target certain individuals.
Right.
I'm of the belief that it's coming from secret societies and, Freemasonry to be more exact, but I understand the hype that is online at the moment. Everybody's talking about secret societies, Illuminati, and I don't want to give them any more power. I don't want to give these secret societies any more power than what they already deserve. So by hyping it up and saying it's them, you're giving them more credit. So I just like to use the term now, the program is more vague and general, and people sort of get the general idea, if that makes any sense.
Right. Well, one of the things I've come across is if I'm walking down an alley and there's a homeless person in the alley and they are participating in an assignment, right? They're a homeless person. They've been asked to participate in some sort of assignment. Somebody came along before I got there and recruited them to participate in the assignment. With somebody on foot. The person didn't have a phone, an app phone. Somebody came to them and got them to participate. So that's an extension of the program.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Matrix, right?
Right.
The agent just comes into anyone, even the homeless man that's sitting on the train line.
Right.
You remember that part in the Matrix?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it feels like, where, you meet someone once, and then the second time you meet them, it's like freaking Agent Smith has contacted them, and they just flip and be cold and awkward and just weird around you. Just plain up weird.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. And then would you classify there being different types of people who are doing group stalking? Because I've looked at it like, within the time that I've been getting gang stalked, I noticed that there's a small percentage of people who are intimately involved with the group stalking, and they're a little bit aware of more of the overall stalking, the gang stalking that's going on. But then there's a larger array of people, like the homeless guy in the alley, who wouldn't even really necessarily hadn't ever heard of gang stalking. Somebody just shows up with $5 or $10 and gets them to do something, and he's a part of the overall group stalking effect that's happening, but as him being an intimate participant and stalking me 24/7, he's just doing that one assignment. Do you see a difference?
Yeah, I see the big difference, and I simplify it in my mind. I simplify it to a chessboard. You see, the homeless guy would be more along the lines of a pawn on the front rows.
Okay.
And then as you go back to the second row and closer to the middle, you get the king and queen. But even around the king and queen, you get different ranks of people that know different amounts of information and different levels of the program until you get close to the king and queen, who are the handlers and the program runners.
Right.
And everyone around them.
Right.
It's sort of compartmental. The whole program is compartmentalized, so everybody only knows their certain job and what they need to do. They don't really know the greater picture. But then you come closer to people with, as you were mentioning, some people do know, and they are deeper in the program and they have more influence.
Yeah, most definitely. And so you have people who are a little bit more aware to some degree or another what gang stalking is and what's happening. Like the homeless guy in the alley, he might be very unaware of covert drugging, electronic weapons, mimicking street theater and stuff. He's not in any of that. He's just doing his little assignment. But then there might be somebody else you come across who is a little bit more aware of the constant group stalking. They may be following you multiple times a day somewhere, or participating in the orchestration of the overall group stalking multiple times a day. So there's quite a bit of difference between a low level, I mean to say low level, but an individual who does one or two things versus an individual who is repeatedly stalking you over a course of time. It's a little bit...
You can tell the difference between the followers and the ones that know. You can see the difference in their mannerism and their characteristics.
Okay.
You can identify who knows and who is just playing a small role.
Right. Now, I've come across a lot of people online, Andy B, who just started getting gang stalked for the first time, and they're going through what I can refer to as a confusion stage, and they're very unaware of that. They're approaching this as all these people are a part of like some sort of witches cult or something, and I mean, I guess they could be right too to some degree. I can't take that from them, but as far as the mechanics go, they're a little bit behind on what's happening, how it's being orchestrated, because they're seeing, they're seeing is the patterns, and they're being spooked, and they can't make anything out of it. They're just lost.
They're taking it all at once. They're taking everything in at once and trying to make sense of it instead of fractioning it up and break it up into little segments and then looking at it that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? If they break it up and assess it, they'll start to understand. And that only comes with experience and time. The longer that they're targeted, the more they'll start to identify, just as we did. I mean, I've been targeted for over 13 plus years, and I've been aware of it for the past 4 years. And it's taken me a hell of a time to identify and break down what's actually happening to me and see it from a more of an understanding perspective, if that makes any sense.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm still confused.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things that you just don't, we just don't, some things we're not seeing openly with our own eyes. We're not there to see it. So we don't have that information. But over time, though, you can put things down into perspective and break it down and make more sense out of it, especially in a way to deliver it. My biggest thing is being able to deliver it to somebody who's just beginning to get gang stalked, or deliver it to somebody who's never even heard of gang stalking in a way that they can understand in case they do get gang stalked, or in case they have a family member who's being gang stalked, or I want them to know what's happening to me,
I mean, I've seen a big change as well in TIs, even the newcomer TIs. When we were both fresh in all this, we were really freaked out. I mean, I just didn't leave my home. I was looking out my curtain. What the hell is this? What's all these people doing? And I was really confused.
Right.
But you see a lot of TIs now, they just pull out their phone and they just start recording the perps, and they just start accusing them of being terrorists, domestic terrorists, or you're a perp, man, why are you perping me? Or you see a lot of TIs actually confronting the perps now with a camera and just asking them straight up, why are you doing this?
Yeah, and that's effective.
It's kind of good.
Yeah, and that's very effective too. It's a great way to get, it's a great way to step back and analyze what's happening, because a lot of these people who are getting put on the spot, a lot of them aren't really sure how to react to it. A lot of them are getting scared and walking away. Some of them are coming up. Some of them are some of them are even telling the truth. Some of them are saying, yeah, I am gang stalking you. Have you seen that?
Pretty much. I think there was one in a grocery store in America where there's a guy pushing a trolley, and they ask him,
yeah,
why do you doing this? He goes, well, I get cashless cards and all these sorts of stuff as an incentive.
Yeah, people are starting to tell it like it is. I remember one time I had a guy walking towards me on the phone, and he was with a woman, and they were walking towards me, past me doing an assignment, and I said, did somebody pay you to do that? And he said, yeah. And then he started looking around like he knew he was being watched. He didn't want the people who got him to do the assignment to know he was telling me. And then I asked him, I said, well, who's doing it? Who paid you to do it? And he got real nervous and started laughing, and he just said, I'm just joking. But he told me specifically, and when I asked him, there was a guy way back in the background watching it. The handler of the guy who hired him to do the assignment was standing back watching the interaction. And so I thought that was cool that he had he put him on blast for that one.
I think the perps, they're just as targeted as a targeted individual is, I guess. I think all their shit is monitored just like ours. I think they're under surveillance just like we are.
Yeah.
But they conform and do what they're told.
You know, the more they're involved with it. Going back to the homeless guy analogy, you know, that might be the only time he ever does an assignment in his life. And there may not really be any need for anybody really to monitor him, but the more somebody is involved with the group stalking, the more of an interest they're going to have to the overall orchestration of group stalking. So therefore, they're going to be watched and listened to more closely, and their whereabouts and who they're communicating with has to be more known. It's almost like they're being targeted in a form that's a little bit different than the person who's being targeted by the gang stalking. It seems like they're being financed to participate in the gang stalking, but at the same time, now they're under, under sort of the control of it in a way. I can't really, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to put into words. It's like
You're saying I get the gist of the narrative, man.
Yeah. And so, do you think there's going to be people coming out, like, basically with stories, talking about how I used to be a gang stalker story and stuff like that? Like, there's actually going to be that type of stuff?
Yeah, most definitely we'll start seeing this in coming years, because there's just so many gang stalkers. And obviously they have disagreements amongst themselves. And it's just human nature. Once you have a disagreement, you want to open your mouth and start talking. So that's bound to happen. I mean, we've got NSA whistleblowers, we've got CIA whistleblowers, we've got people that have returned back from Iraq and Afghanistan that are blowing the whistle on what's going on over there.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just give it time, man, and then we'll see a whole region of gang stalkers come forward and start explaining what's happening.
Yeah. I had a woman emailing me, and I think I've told you this on a few different occasions. She emailed me, when I first came on my courses back in June of 2016, she emailed me and she said that she was a gang stalker. She was approached at a shopping center and given $100 to start changing her hair color and following certain individuals and putting following with the brights on. They would tell her who the person was, the person that she was targeting was. And she said after that, they would contact her through a smoking advertisement and then give her instructions after the smoking advertisement. So her smoking advertisement was her cue to do the assignments. And she said she was following these people, but she went online and started Googling what she was doing, and she figured out she was gang stalking people. Then she emailed me telling me that she was scared. She didn't want to talk about it on the phone. She said she was requesting my help with her involved in gang stalking, and I told her, well, come talk to me in person or call me over the phone. Let me interview you on it. And she said she couldn't leave the location she was at. Then she said she was scared to talk over the phone about it because she said she knows they're listening to all her calls. And she says if she starts talking about what she's doing, now they'll start gang stalking her, or they'll try to create a form of retaliation for her speaking about her fear of gang stuff. So it's like she was being held hostage in a way. And so
it's the truth.
Right.
She's not lying there, man. I mean, if she steps out of her certain vicinity where she's residing, probably some alarm bells will go off on some handler's fucking computer room or whatever.
Right.
And they'll just set out the doghounds. They'll just let her, they'll set out the hellhounds and just follow her around.
Yeah.
And let her know that we are watching, we are listening, and we know what you said.
Yeah, and then the money looks better. So it looks like, hey, I'm scared. I don't want to talk on the phone and talk about how I'm afraid to keep gang stalking people and I want to stop. So the easier way to do is just get the little gift cards and the restaurant coupons and be quiet about it all and keep doing it. So it's a dilemma. Do I stop doing it and speak openly about how I have been doing this and I don't feel it's right? Or do I continue to accept the rewards of it and be quiet and continue stalking these people even though I don't want to do it? So it's a tight fight with a short stick on a spiritual level, man.
Pretty much, man. It goes back to that saying, don't dance with the devil because the dance might last forever.
Oh yeah, you're not joking about that. Who's to say a few dollars, all money is not good money. You can sell your soul over a few dollars. You know what I'm saying? You know, a few dollars, you know. So, I mean, but it's interesting though. That was a sign to me that there was something wrong. You know, for somebody to come out and say they were scared, they didn't want to do it, and all that. But see, at that time in my life, I wasn't aware. At that time in my life, I wasn't aware how people were being contracted to gang stalk people to begin with. It wasn't until I started talking to people who were telling me how they were being paid to do assignments on me. I had a guy I've been knowing my whole life basically tell me straight up, you know, he was being told to watch me to make sure I wasn't doing anything educational or work related, any heavy work or outside labor, and he had to follow me with a red shirt and bright lights on 24/7. But he had never used a computer in his life. This guy's illiterate. He's high off of drugs half the time. He was high on pills when he was doing the gang stalking. He's a drug. He's a good friend. He's a good friend of mine. I don't mean nothing bad on him, but he's a drug addict though. The man's high off of pills and dope 80% of the day, but he's still good enough to do the assignments. And so,
I get you.
Right. So he's sitting there high off of drugs, telling me what's going. You know, he's telling me like, yeah, man, you know, this is what's happening. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So you never heard about gang stalking? He said, I don't know nothing about it. And I knew he didn't do anything. He doesn't use a computer. He doesn't know anything. You know what I mean? The man, you know, and so you can be getting gang stalked by people who don't even know what gang stalking is. But again, if you approach people right, they're willing to open up about it. You know, most definitely.
Yeah. I've experienced with myself, when I've approached these people on certain occasions, a lot of them have a look of guilt in their face. They feel bad. There is empathy. And I believe these people are the ones that are being exploited through either blackmail or having their arm twisted and forced in a certain way to do this or carry this out on someone, because their benefits will be cut off, or they will be harassed, or whatever. They'll have just a whole heap of negative associations happening after rejecting or denying doing this to someone.
Yeah, most definitely.
I mean, the ground level perps, the gang stalkers, majority of them are victims like us. Majority of them. But you still get your paid perps and your well-informed perps who are not blackmailed to do it or anything. It's their career. Man, as you said earlier on, that gang stalker got an advert to let her know when to carry out her harassment. This is kind of like a high-level espionage, where there's sleeper agents just sleeping until they're activated through a message.
That's crazy, man.
Smoke signal, and then boom.
That is crazy. And it's not like they're walking into an office and talking to somebody face to, you know what I'm saying? It's not like it's an official call from a company. It's like secret, you know what I'm saying, smoking advertisements. And, you know, these people, you know, they probably have houses under fake names and cars under fake names and stuff. And, you know what I mean? It's like, what the, you know what I'm saying? In the meantime, you got people running out shooting people because they're being stalked. And people, you know, being drugged and electronic harassment and people killing themselves and stuff. It's crazy, man. I just don't get it myself.
The scary thing about all this, Jamil, is targeted individuals have been dragged into a world which is not only about gang stalking and harassment. We're also being dragged into a world of drug trafficking, human trafficking, etc., etc. We've now been pulled into that network because they've got these people carrying it out on us. The people that maintain the drug trafficking trade, the sex trafficking trade, and all this other black market stuff that is being distributed is being run by the same people that are being used on the ground level up to maintain this program on target individuals.
I've heard rumors like that. I wouldn't be a bit surprised myself.
Because I've actually been helped by a wonderful woman called Katrina Hagen from Florida in the USA. And she's talked me through a tracer route, how to run a tracer route. And I've ran a few tracer routes on a few IP addresses, and lo and behold, I was quite surprised as to who's monitoring my internet use. And I think that all TI should do that. And then you'll get a better idea. You know, I was led back to a uranium mine in South Australia. Why is a decommissioned uranium mine mining company, watching my internet usage, monitoring my internet usage? Why am I linked up to their routers and their servers? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's pretty deep, man. You were able to figure that one out, huh?
Yeah, man. And I also traced it back to a church that I was baptized and my mum and dad were married at. So there's also a church monitoring my internet usage and my whereabouts and whatnot. I'm not saying that the program is coming from them, but I'm just saying that they've also play a hand. This is how big this network goes. It's mammoth.
Man.
It's unbelievably mammoth.
Yeah, no kidding. You said the uranium field and the church and all that stuff. It almost sounds like something from Marvel Comics or something, man. You know what I mean? Uranium man, and uranium man, and you know the you know what I'm saying, and all this. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. There could be just fake servers, man, just operating underneath those caves on the internet. You know what I mean? Who knows? Anything can be spoofed, can be tweaked, and it appears to be what it is, but it's not.
That's a good question. Maybe that's just what they wanted you to see.
What we're dealing with, man, smoke screen mirrors and
you're breaking up a little bit.
A lot of deceit.
Yeah. No kidding. So let me ask you. Look,
that's a thought, man. I've given that thought as well.
Right.
We back?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, I was breaking up for a second. So now, do you think they were mad back when we started doing our when I was coming out with that stuff in June of 2016? We connected somewhere around then, around June and July, and you had come out with a video. We had come out with a thing about gang stalking way back then. Do you think the program was a little bit disturbed about how you were expressing to people in different areas of the world how you were being group stalked, and you had all these horrible things happen to you? Do you think they were disturbed about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, man. I'm pretty sure they get disturbed about any TI that is still coming across rational and logical and is able to articulate their experiences with being a target individual.
Mm-hmm.
And also is not a good reflection on the country that target individual is coming from, because, as you know, YouTube is a public platform, and anybody can access the videos that I upload and anybody else does.
Right.
So it's not a good reflection for the Australian country per se, because I'm from Australia and this is being carried out on me in Sydney, Australia, a Western advanced country, but yet nobody's coming out to my aid from the legal system.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? So
no.
It does not look good. It does not look good for when every TI comes forward and says their story and says their theories. It's not good for the greater picture of the program. No, they don't like it.
It's giving the program a black eye, so to speak, huh? It's making the people stalking you look bad.
Oh, look, man, I'll be honest with you. This program is like a true David and Goliath story, and to even land a little scratch on their face would be a marvelous feat.
Yeah.
Marvelous achievement. I mean,
yeah,
it's pretty hard to.
Huh?
Leave in them. It's pretty hard to leave it then.
Yeah. Well, anything built on destruction eventually collapses.
It's pretty hard to leave it then in the program. It's pretty hard.
I think anything built on destruction, our communication's getting a little.
Yeah, they're tampering with it, man.
The program's doing that.
Well, cause it's fine from my end, but I think from your end it's not well at the moment. It's not good.
I don't know. It might be. It might be mine. I don't know. Now that you mention it, we had last time we talked. We had the other times that we spoke, and that never really happened.
Yeah, I mean, I find that I'm getting a lot of electronic harassment now when I'm talking to TIs that are helping myself or we're working together for a greater good. They don't like it. They just want to just keep us divided up.
Yeah, they're mad. They're mad. Huh? Yeah.
Yo, DJ, drop that shit.
I'm like DJ Quick over here now.
That's some golden information right there, man.
Man, I don't. Yeah.
That's like a stone for TIs.
Right. Man, I've seen, it's just so funny, man. I've seen some tripped out stuff getting gangs. It doesn't even matter, man. Like, people, you get, I wish they could go through 48 hours of the kinds of mess I had to go through. They'd go get under their bed somewhere.
It gets like that, man.
Yeah.
You're a veteran. You become a veteran TI, Jamil.
I don't know, man. There's people out here who, I hope not. There's people.
We're going to have to start distributing medals, mate.
Huh?
We're going to have to give people medals.
Yeah, have some medals and some stripes and all this stuff. And if you want, we're gonna have to get some uniforms and some stripes and all that stuff, man, and some microphones and stuff. And now you're talking. That's a trip. But there's been people who've been going. There's literally people I've been talking to who say they've been going through it for like 20 years.
Yes, I know, man. I know. I've spoken to a lot of them. I'm like, how have you done it? 30 years, 20 years?
20.
There's been a guy in Australia. If you want to take note of this guy, his name is Mark Walters Flowers, or Mark Flowers Walters. He was a 30-year survivor, man, of Freemasonry white glove treatment or gang stalking, and he was actually able to successfully prove it in court. One of the only TIs that I've come across in Australia that was able to successfully prove through self-representation in the court system that he's being gang stalked.
He did that in the court system? He proved he was being gang stalked in the courts? Wow.
Yeah, man.
What happened after that? They leave him alone?
I'm pretty sure they left him alone, and I made contact with him, but he told me that he's spending time with his children and he wants to be left alone after everything, and I respected that, and I just hung up the phone. But I really had so many questions to ask him, how did you do it? Any advice on how I can do it, how I can get out the system, get out this program and free myself, so I can also channel that information out online. But I'm just guessing that he would have had to sign some type of confidentiality agreement or some type of clause to maintain his silence in exchange for them to leave him alone.
Probably. I'm sure a lot of things of it like that happen. There's people who get targeted for short amounts of times and then it ends even without them making any type of arrangement or anything like that. So I can definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
What?
Man, just on the basis of being targeted for 30 years, if I was in that man's position, I wouldn't even want to talk about it or even see the word gang stalking or harassment. I'd be like,
oh my God, man. 30 years? 30 years? Wow.
Yeah, man.
That's scary.
He's in the Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah.
Like, alumni.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding, man. No kidding. 30 years. Man. Hey, so do you think this, now I've been talking to people, I talked to a woman in North Carolina, and she told me they were going to be doing it to her forever.
Well, I've been told that as well. I've been told that I'm in it for life. And I have to accept it. But, man, I'm not accepting this. Fuck it.
Yeah, no kidding. Do you, now, what was I going to say? Okay, there's a woman I talked to in Canada. She's been getting gang stalked since the 90s, and the ambulance drivers told her that she was in a program that she could never get out of. An ambulance driver told her that.
That's possible, man. I mean, they do get a bit cocky, the first responders, because they think that they can't be touched. They're part of some large, untouchable network.
Mm-hmm.
And only the ones at the top, only the people right at the top orchestrating all this shit know that it can be stopped. There's still grounds for this thing to be attacked and stopped. But on a lower level, these first responders and all that think that they're part of such a large organisation and they're so protected that even if they make comments and gestures like this, that it's not going to have any repercussions.
Right. Yeah, there's people out there who think they can do about anything. And,
pretty much, man.
And, you know, but...
I've called the police assistance line and I said to them, look, I want out of this government program. I want out of it now. And at that time, I thought it was being run by white supremacists. And I was underneath the impression that the program is being run by white supremacists. Because that's the impression that they gave me with the KKK graffiti all around and swastikas all around my neighbourhood that I'd see. It made me think that's white supremacists. So I rang up the police and I said, look, I want out of this white supremacist program, this government-run program that's being sheltered by you guys and everybody else. I want out of it.
Wow.
The lady just went quiet. He didn't know what to say, man.
Dude, okay, yeah, he knew you were telling it like it was. He knew you were telling the truth.
The operator, man, she didn't know what to say. She just went quiet.
They got the Ku Klux Klan in Australia?
There are white supremacist groups here, man, yeah. But it's just extreme. It's just an extremist faction. We're living in an extreme world, man. There's extremists on all sides. It doesn't mean that Australia as a whole is racist or white supremacist.
Right.
You do have your small factions within the country, like you have other factions like gangs and, you know, like in America, you got the Black Lives Matter, you got the KKK, you got the right, the left, and all these different extreme factions.
Hey, B, I gotta go, man.
You're right, bro.
Can we get back on this later?
Yeah, man, whenever. Give me a buzz.
All right. I'll talk to you. I'll message you off here, but I gotta get off the video, but we'll continue this later on, though, man.
For sure, bro.
All right, man. We'll talk later.
Adios, amigos.
All right.